Hello, wonderful world. It's me again. And here I am with Martin Rutte, who you're in Prince Edward Island, right? In Canada.
That's right, on the east coast of
Wow.
Canada.
And I'm originally Canadian.
No!
Yes. Yes.
What?
I grew up
From
south of Ottawa in Ontario for years.
where? Pembroke or Smith
No,
Falls?
Prescott, which is south of
Prescott, yeah,
Ottawa.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a Canadian through and through, even though
Yeah,
I've
as
lived in
I've,
England for 28 years.
I just have you associated with England, and now listening to your accent, wait a minute, there's no English accent there.
Yeah, no,
That's
I've well preserved my Canadian
Canadian.
accent. I kind of like it. I'm proud to be Canadian because I think they're good folk.
Me
So
too.
yeah, there you go. So nice. So you are the founder of Project Heaven on Earth, which people can access at projectheavenonearth.com. We're going to talk about that. And you're looking at a second book. Well, I know it's not the second book for you. You've done others as well, I think. So, but the next one's going to be called The Second Axial Age, which I want to get into with you as well. So, do you want to just give us a quick introduction to you? What is Project Heaven on Earth? What does that have to do with my new rebranding of this podcast as The Future, Good, Bad, or Absolutely Fabulous? Over to
Well,
you.
absolutely fabulous. Wasn't that the two British women in the,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
forgot their name. Uh, where should I start? I was born in in Canada, and I've always had this interest in vision.
Yeah, me too.
Where are we going? If you had a magic wand, what would the world be like? What would your life be like? And I did an undergraduate degree in psychology, and then I started my own business doing personal development work, leading trainings in personal development,
Yeah.
speaking on vision. I've spoken at the Harvard Business School 4 times on vision, and some of my corporate clients have been Sony Pictures Entertainment, Southern California Edison, Apple Computer.
Wow.
I'm excuse me, co-author or a co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul at Work, which is
Yeah.
sold somewhere over 1.1 million copies, a
I
New York
saw
Times,
that. Yeah.
yeah, New York Times business bestseller,
Yep.
and done a lot of work. So there in spirituality and work, I was the co-founder of a Center for Spirituality in the Workplace at the Sobey
Fantastic.
School of Business because I wanted it to be in a business school, which is the preeminent business school in English, Eastern Canada, in Halifax. And so that ran for years. We had PhD
Fantastic.
students and courses. Courses still go on. We
Yeah.
did public lectures, internet lectures. And then about 30-ish years ago, I was going to do a talk on spirituality and work. And I thought, if every business in the world is spiritual, is that what you want? And I said, no,
Yeah.
because if we could transform business, we could transform the world.
Yes.
And then this thought popped into my mind, oh, you mean heaven on earth? And I jumped. And I won't say the exact language I used, but I said, holy da da da,
Yeah.
you can't say that.
Yeah.
And then I thought, why not? I can talk to you about hell on earth. That's a permissible conversation.
Yeah.
Why can't I talk to you about heaven on earth?
Yeah.
So that began this inquiry. Well, what is it? What am I talking about here in heaven on earth?
Yeah.
And the way I gather information is I go and speak with people. And I started asking, what's heaven on earth for you? What's heaven on earth for you? What's heaven on earth for you? And that distilled down into three questions. Actually, I didn't even ask you your permission before we did this interview. Can I ask you the three
Oh
questions?
yeah, please do. Yeah, I'd love
All
it.
right. And then for those of you who are watching or listening, just pause at the end of my asking the question before you hear Solara's response.
Yeah.
So you get to see the progression here. Then once we're done the questions, I'll go back and tell you why they're designed in the flow that they are. So, question one, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. Recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on?
Do you want me to give them a pause? Okay, so let me just tune in. Okay. So I've had a lot of them and I kind of live in it now, much more so. But I would call the one of the first ones, the most powerful one, an epiphany. I was on the top of the Glastonbury tour at summer solstice 1995 at 2 a.m. in the morning, and it was like it wasn't just an awakening, it was like an explosive awareness for me.
Mm,
And I would say that opened the door big time for me to radically remake my life.
very clear.
Yeah.
Second question. Pretend you have a magic wand, a pen, a pencil,
Yeah.
and with this wand, you can have heaven on earth
Oh, yeah.
simply by waving it. What's heaven on earth for you?
Okay. Again, I'll pause for a minute, let people think about it. Okay. There are so many facets to that for me, but I invented a word last year called unificence, and it's a combination of each of us being wonderfully unique and radically unified in some way, that we are connecting to one another, to all life forms, as intelligent, unique, awesome, incredible beings with contribution to make. I guess I would say that's my primary one.
Clear. And then the third question, I'm just writing down your answers. The third question, what simple, easy, concrete step, what simple, easy, concrete step will you take in the next 24 hours to have more of that?
I can hardly pause because I just went out to lunch with a friend and um, we were talking about what we're becoming at the moment. So there's a lot of people in the world experiencing a kind of radical, revolutionary, evolutionary becoming. And it's for some of them, it's hard. I have friends who've had quite almost near to dying experiences. I've had friends who have headaches, and I have, et cetera, et cetera. And my friend said, "Do you mean we're becoming Lucy's, as from the movie Lucy? I don't know if you've ever seen it, but
No.
she begins to use 100% of her brain, and she becomes all consciousness in that movie. It's got a lot of violence in the movie, so people don't like violence. They shouldn't watch the movie, but it's a symbol of becoming something beyond our current understanding of what's possible as beings living on a planet, embodied on a planet. And so what I was talking about the next 24 hours is as soon as she said that, I thought, I'm going to do an advanced exploration webinar called Becoming Lucy's because that's what I love to do. I love to explore the next unknown. What is it? How do we get there? And I like to explore it collaboratively and co-creatively, not just like, I'm going to teach something, because I think everyone has unique contributions to bring to the creation. And I call that collaborative genius fusion. So we all put in our ideas and it becomes something more than any one of us would create, kind of thing. So that's my next 24-hour plan at the moment.
Fabulous. Just thank you. So
Yeah.
let's go through the questions.
Yeah.
One, recall a time when you experienced heaven on earth. What was going on? And you talked about the time at Glastonbury, 2 o'clock in the morning, and just an explosion of awareness.
Yeah.
What you didn't do, Solera, and what no one does is say, Martin, what do you mean by heaven on earth?
Oh, interesting. Oh, but I'm
You know,
living it. I do understand it. Yeah. But I understand what
but
you're
which
saying.
is the point that
Yeah.
there is what I call within you an already knowing
Yes. Yeah.
about what heaven on earth is.
Yeah.
And so when
Brilliantly
I
said.
say recall a time, you go right there. You know, when my child was born, walking in nature, having a wonderful meal, whatever.
Wonderful. Yeah.
But people instantly go there.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I was like, but I didn't even define what I'm talking about. And then I thought, no, don't define it. Don't even, but watch. So that's
That's
question one.
beautiful.
Thank you. There is an already knowing about what
Yes.
heaven on earth is, or you couldn't have answered the question.
Yes.
Second question, imagine you have a magic wand, and with it you can have heaven on earth. What's heaven on earth? The reason for the magic wand, Solera, is to remove the necessity
Yeah.
of having to know how.
Yep.
If we don't have to know how, we can go purely into the what.
Yeah. Very nice.
And that's where the soul speaks, the divine soul speaks. And you used the word uni,
Unificence.
unificence. Unificence.
It's not a word in any dictionary. I made it up.
Yet, yet, yet. It could be the Oxford English Dictionary Word of the Year next year.
Yeah. Let's hope.
Unificence. You're unique, and you're radically unified. I think that's true, very true,
Yeah.
with a contribution to make you added.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I ask that question, it's remarkable in a Zoom webinar or in a live webinar. People stand up and the sharing is so profound
I can imagine. Yeah.
about they know, and you can just feel the whole room deepening, deepening, deepening into the collective
Yeah.
of we know what heaven on earth is.
Beautiful.
Then the third question, I don't want to just leave it as at I know what heaven on earth is for me. I want you to actually engage
Yeah.
with it now.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be some good idea way, way, way in the future. It isn't a
Fantastic.
good, it's a good idea whose time has come now.
Yes.
So you use wonderful language, becoming something beyond what we believe is possible.
Hmm.
That's a very powerful statement because one of the attributes of heaven on earth is it's not possible. Why? Because I don't believe it's possible.
Yeah.
Why? Because we've never had it. But so what? We never had AI. We never had the end of polio. We never had, right?
Yeah.
Um, and exploring the next unknown, collective genius fusion. Very clear to you what it is. So, question one, you already know what it is.
Yeah.
Question two, you deeply know what it is. And question three, you begin to engage with what it is starting
Fantastic. Yeah.
now. So that what we're really doing here is we're co creating the new story of what it means to be a human
Yeah.
and what it means to be humanity, or in your language, unique and radically unified, a
Yeah.
human and humanity.
Yeah.
Let me stop there for.
Story is so important. I think that's like the top of the list for people to live into. And it's not like we all have to have the same story, but it's wonderful that you're developing a story around that and calling all these people to understand, to recognize that it lives inside of them and that they care about it, that they can do something about it. I think that's absolutely brilliant.
Thank you. The last statement that you can do something about it. It's not just a pipe dream.
Yeah.
As more and more people, and I'll give you some examples in a couple of minutes, as more and more people around the world get this,
Yeah.
humanity begins to go, oh, and I'll tell you one way I know how it's happening.
Yeah.
Google has something called Google Alerts, and you can put, do you know what that is?
No.
Oh, you can put your name in Solera Green, you can put your titles of your books, anything you want. And Google does a search every day for that phrase or word that you've put in and gives you a report. It's free. It's called Google Alerts.
Wow.
So years ago, I put in the phrase heaven on earth, and I get a report every day
Oh, how
on,
cool.
yep, where that phrase is. And it just keeps going on. Some days it's too overwhelming. I can't do it in terms of reading everyone and clicking on them.
Yeah.
So it's coming into the zeitgeist, it's coming into the collective consciousness. And I
Yes.
think the turmoil on the surface of culture, the US election,
Yeah.
here in Canada with the turmoil politically, the Ukraine-Russian war, Israel,
Yeah.
Gaza, refugees, environment, turmoil on the surface. And while I know it is hard for many, many people, underneath what I also know, and what you and I said before this
Yeah.
interview went on, something is clearly arising.
Oh, definitely.
clearly arising. And that's what the new books is about, which I'll
Yeah.
get to. But let me just stop there for comments, questions.
Oh, what fascinates me, so my approach has been in the last 20 years to find the people who want to source breakthroughs that live, elevate us all and evolve us all. I call them maestros, just for fun,
No,
because
that's a beautiful word. Yeah,
they all have different masteries in them, but we're like an orchestra playing kind of thing. And I think it's so wonderful to hear you talking about it like this because what you're saying is more and more and more people are interested in how the world is turning out and what we can do about that.
precisely.
And from a
Precise.
deep, rich place of what we can do about that, not just, concern or fear or any of that stuff, but from a really deep, rich knowing place.
And what all of this work that you and I and many, many others are doing
Yeah,
is it's opening that.
yeah,
I'm continue to be surprised at how many people, first of all, when they hear heaven on earth, oh, he's going to proselytize, he's got a specific religious bent that he wants to impose, which is not what I'm doing. Because if you'll
absolutely.
note,
Yeah,
I didn't define heaven on earth and I didn't say you should do it my way.
yeah,
Rather, this is to evoke that knowing, that already knowing that lives within you,
yes.
so that when it comes out, it's alive in you and you affect other people.
Yeah, because I think that which you're talking about, that knowing, that feeling that lives inside of us about that, it's a creation. It's a new creation. It's something we all have unique parts to bring to it, unique contributions to make to it, and many contributions, not just like, oh, I have a purpose and I'm here for. I find I have multiple purposes and I'm called to different things all the time, but that ability to create and to co-create together to me is one of the most exciting things that's happening.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. It's about we co-creating heaven on
Yes,
earth.
absolutely. Yeah. It's not about one person
It
doing it.
was for the first, this is about 35-ish years old now. At the beginning, it was to get the idea
Yeah.
into the collective consciousness that even this
Bravo.
idea was a possibility.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, what I'm seeing because of, as I said, the turmoil on the surface of culture, plus how I see Google alerts keep every day showing what's going on, it's gone to a new level, that we level.
Yeah.
And let me, maybe some examples
Yeah, go for it.
from the simple to the just, they're all amazing. One woman in Mexico City, I said, if you spoke to two people today about heaven on earth and asked them the three questions and asked each of them to speak to two people the next day and on and on and on, and your only assignment was to ask the questions of two people who have not been asked, and there's 8 billion people in the world, how long do you think that would take? Assuming everybody said, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, how long do you think it would take?
Oh God. I don't know. With today's technology, it actually could happen relatively quickly, but that's probably not the right answer.
No, it is the right answer.
Oh, is
32 day,
it?
32 days.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
32 days, assuming everybody asked, two people who had not been asked.
Oh, fantastic. Wow.
And that really struck her. And so what she's now doing is she's smiling at two people a day, every day in Mexico City.
Yeah, beautiful.
I have a woman who put her definition of heaven on earth, she embedded it at the end of every email. And she
Wow.
also asked the question, imagine you have a magic wand and with it can have heaven on earth.
Yeah,
What's heaven on earth for you? Here's what it is for me.
yeah.
A real estate agent, we were speaking and we're talking about the sufferings in the world. And she said, well, there's a suffering, Martin, that really bothers me. What? Homelessness. And so there she went white when she said that word. You could
Mm,
see how deeply, deeply, deeply this hurt her.
yeah,
And I said, okay, what's heaven on earth for homelessness? Well, she said a home for everybody. But you don't understand. You know, I'm a real estate agent. I work 87 hours a day, 8 days a week. I'm
Yeah.
in a relationship that takes another 100 hours.
Yeah.
Fine, stop. What are you going to do? And she went, oh, she goes back to her agency, a real estate agency. There's, I think, 10 people in it. And she said, all right, we're going to create a home for everyone. We're going to start a new program. What I'd like you to do is give $100 from each sale, commercial or real estate, or home rather, up to, I think it was a maximum of 1,200 a year. We'll pile that together in a fund, and we'll invite individuals and organizations to come and apply for that money every year.
Wow.
And several years ago, I spoke to her. They had raised $400,000,
Amazing.
and organizations were, and as a secondary benefit, this was promoting their real estate office, which she, had never even crossed her mind to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And so moving up, a guy, Charles Chouret in Montreal, originally from Gabon in Africa, he heard my lecture on heaven and earth. He went crazy and he said, I've been thinking, I'm wanting a way. How about heaven on earth for Africa? I went,
Mm.
what? He said, yeah, 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 yeah. That's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. So he started a program on Facebook called Heaven on Earth for Africa.
Oh, beautiful.
People have started, a woman in Austria, Heaven on Earth for Austria.
Oh,
Uh,
that's amazing.
a marriage counselor.
Yeah.
My wife and I are having troubles. I go to the marriage counselor, and she said to each of us, "Here's a magic wand. What's heaven on earth for your marriage?" So the ideas that come out, the creativity, so it's incredible to me.
Yeah.
I could
That's
never
amazing.
ever think of it. Never think of it.
Yeah, no, that's what happens when because I believe that what's emerging from within those people is the knowing of what that is. It contains not only their passions, their uniqueness, their genius, their mastery, their creativity, all of that's within us. And I think in the previous consciousness in which we lived, we were living in quite limited constructs.
Yep.
Like in Denmark, they have a word called the jantelov, which is don't think big about yourself.
And you know what it is in Canada. Don't
What?
be don't be prideful.
Oh, is it? Okay. Well, I
Or
have
in Australia, tall poppy syndrome. Do you know about that?
no.
The
Oh my
tallest
goodness.
poppy gets cut first, so
Oh
don't
my
stand
goodness.
out.
We're going to have to find new phraseology for this because to me, it's like unleash your genius, unleash your passions, unleash your ideas, be creative, be exciting, be daring, be bold. Like as I've gotten older, it more and more. It's easier and easier for me to do that. And I think that one of the things that happens is you go into a kind of creative genius flow in yourself. That's why I've now written 19 books. They just kind of come through me,
Come.
like I don't have to sit and plot and plan and write and scheme and work for a year on it. It just kind of pours through me, I find now. But
So
also
that connection with the divine,
oh yeah,
that
yeah.
did you see the movie Amadeus
I think so, yes.
about Mozart?
Yeah.
All he did is he just took dictation. He
Yeah,
just
I
and
can believe that.
most of his manuscripts had zero corrections.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing, excuse me, the movie and not being able to breathe. It's like, holy mackerel.
Yeah.
And so you're just sparking something in me that we think that's unusual
Yeah. But
rather than,
actually, it can be everybody. It's natural for us, I believe. I spent 3 years exploring and researching and teaching about genius and unleashing genius, but I absolutely believe everyone has genius in them, but it's just unique.
yes,
It's not like in the education system where everybody's learning the same stuff. It's very unique to each one of us. And we'll come to the fore if we learn to just let it go into flow and expression, which I think is exciting. And I think that's happening more and more. So what you're doing when you open those questions up, you're opening up that place of genius and creative expression and the ideas and the things they care deeply about.
yes.
So yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I love
Th-
that.
Thank you. I want to just go one other place. So I've written a book on this. Whoops, called, can you see the
Yay.
title? Do you know read the title, please.
Project Heaven on Earth.
Read the title in another way.
Project Heaven on
No,
Earth.
no, project heaven on earth.
Oh, okay. Project.
Project
Oh, yeah.
is both a noun, a verb, so we're projecting heaven on earth, and
Nice.
project, the noun.
Nice. I
So
like
this
it.
is on Amazon. But on so when I ask these questions, whoops, when I asked these three questions over and over again, I wanted to see, Solera, is there a lay of the land here? In other words, do certain answers or certain arenas keep coming up? I call them gateways.
Yeah.
And there
Nice.
are seven gateways that continuously come up.
Oh,
There are other
fabulous.
ones, but these are the major ones. And they're
Yeah.
so, and in no particular order. One is your inner world. There are people who say, for me to experience heaven on earth, I have to go inside. The more heaven on earth inner, the more it will be expressed in the outside world. So those
Mhm.
people do things like art and poetry to
Yeah.
express the heaven on earth. Or, I have this problem with work or blah, 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 whatever. I go to therapy, I go to a workshop. I want to get rid of that hell on earth inside of me so more heaven on earth can come out.
Yeah.
So that's gateway, your inner world. A second gateway is, and again, not in order, relationship. My heaven on earth relationship with myself, with another or others, and with the divine. For
Yes.
some people, heaven on earth is in the arena of relationship. My
Yeah.
wife, yes. A third one, living our global values. We both know people who are their global
Mhm.
values. I have a friend, Tim Klaus. His is order. You put him into a pigsty of an office or a home and let him go, and it will be breathtaking. My wife's is joy. My wife walks into a room, you're going to feel joy.
Oh, wonderful.
Mine is harmony. That's a huge word for me.
Mine is breakthrough.
There you go. All
Yeah.
right. So we know living a global value, and the premise being that assuming that value is lived globally,
Yeah.
that's heaven on earth.
Yep.
Then we say there are people who say, well, what about the external world? And for them, the external world, one of the major ones is end a suffering, hunger, war, poverty, slavery. Not make the suffering better, which is wonderful, but actually end it.
Yeah.
Their premise being when this, what's it called? An arch has a keystone in it, a
Yeah.
stone arch. When you take that keystone out, the whole arch collapses.
Yeah.
So in the sufferings gateway, people will have usually one suffering. That is the one that drives their heart nuts.
Yeah.
By ending that, the other ones, they believe, will collapse. Then in the outer world, institutions. What if the purpose of institutions, government, law, media, religion, what if their purpose was to help co-create heaven on earth?
Yeah.
What would they do and what would they not do?
Yeah.
Then we go to heaven on earth nations. I spoke
Yeah.
to you earlier about this friend of mine in Austria, Austria is a heaven on earth nation. I remember there's a woman in Australia who said, excuse me, in New Zealand, who said at first that New Zealand is a heaven on earth nation. I went, what? That was
That's
just,
probably very true.
yeah, mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Yet for her, it was simple. Because what's interesting is these gateways are extremely simple.
Yeah.
When the person expressing them, it's like, well, it's obvious.
Yeah.
So if one person can smile at two people a day, because that's simple. One person can say heaven on earth, Africa is a heaven on earth continent, because that's simple for them. And
Yeah.
then the final one is heaven on earth is here now. This here now is heaven on earth. And our belief that it's not is what's in the way. So the seven are your inner world, relationships, living a global value or your global value, ending a suffering, institutions taking their rightful place,
Yeah.
co-creating heaven on earth nations, and heaven on earth this here now. And
Fantastic.
the book is about starts with those three questions, and then each of the gateways has its own different chapters. That's what took the book so long for me to write, because I had to, like, how do I get into this gateway? How did I get into this gateway? So that we end with a vow, our vow that no, we are here to have this be heaven on earth. Why do we have to wait till after death to have
Yeah.
heaven?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
not written anywhere.
Yeah. It's interesting because the gateways to me are just, I see them in my own life and work over the last 25 years. People when they first start to become aware, they want to work on themselves. They want to improve themselves and clear stuff and be better. And then they become almost visionaries, I think, is one of the next steps of the global values piece. I think they want to do something to make a difference. And that often I love that your three questions open that up for people because often they don't know how to go from what they're living as a traditional life into what to live as a visionary life. And they often will say, oh, I'll go help children in a third world country or something like that, when actually there's so many exciting ideas inside of them of what they could do. But then I think there's a point where we shift into, I use the word transcendent, which sounds like a big fancy word, but it's not about going away from everything. It's about living more present, more fully expressed, more creative, more unified, more everything kind of thing. And when you become transcendent in the living of your life, I think you go beyond being a visionary and taking on a project, and you want to source life in a multifaceted way. And that's a big challenge for people to wrap their heads and their lives around, you know? But it's part of what I think that people like you and I are doing is finding ways to wrap our life around it and to find creative ways to express that in joy, in genius creation, in collaboration with others. I think it's a brand new world and way that we're living inside of. Yeah.
So, Lara, we haven't spoken in quite a while, and I can see the refinement in your work and in your thinking.
Yeah. Oh, I've come a long way in 25 years.
Yes,
A long,
that's
long
wonderful.
way. Big time, yeah. But it's one of the things that fascinates me. I kind of leap, 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 leap every month or two, like, and I've stopped. I actually don't want to like teach anymore because I think I've got it. And then 2 months, 6 months, a year later, I go, oh, there's so much more than that. And then I watch other people, what they're doing, and I realize, oh my God, they have a completely unique way, and they have another unique way. And so what I try to do now instead of teach is open up explorations and
Yes.
bring the inner genius and the mastery to the fore, where it's a collaboration of your own inner mastery and power in alignment with what you call the divine. I would call universal, infinite, whatever terms we want, source. People use all different terms for it, creator. And when we merge those two together, then we become creators of life as we want to see it, of heaven on earth, which I think is an amazing thing to be able to live as. It's so fulfilling. Do you find that too? You find your life really fulfilling?
I do. I still I go back to the time I had the thought, oh, you mean heaven on earth, when that popped into my mind. And
Yeah.
I knew that the next phase of my life was going to be devoted to that,
Yeah.
which is, I had no idea how to do that, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah, of course. And it just keeps expanding and expanding.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's fascinating, isn't it?
it,
And
it
and
is
the
fat.
opportunities and I like when you asked what thing would you do about it in the next 24 hours? That's a great question because I often say to people, just do one thing now or in the next couple of hours or today. Just do one small, simple thing about the idea you've got, and it starts to roll.
I put it another way. Ask the question, which is my third question, what simple, easy, concrete step will
Yeah.
you take in the next 24 hours? That forces them in a good way
Yeah.
to look and go, oh, because one of the other things is it has to be simple and you
Yes.
have to know that you're going to be successful at doing it.
And it has to have joy. I think if you're going to try and push the elephant up the hill,
Yep.
it's going to be a hard slog to fulfill those things. And so I always say to people, like, do something you love. Do something you'd be excited to do, and it comes easy and effortless. And then it's like the synchronous roll begins. And you meet people and you have conversations and things
Yes.
come towards you and opportunities and people. And it's just amazing how it works.
That you could not have predicted in any.
Absolutely. Yeah. You
So
can't
it's
predict this stuff. It's like the universe is full of magic and synchronicity and all kinds of wonderful things. For me, it was saying yes to the universe, the infinite source, divine, whatever. It was saying yes. Okay, I'm up for it. Let's go. It all just began with a big yes for me. That was on the top of the hill on the
maybe it's
Glastonbury
not, maybe
tour.
it wasn't the big yet the Big Bang. Maybe it was the big yes.
Yeah, I think so. For me, it was. Well, listen, let's take a look at what's coming next for you because you're about to write this next book called The Second Axial
Axial
Age,
age.
right? I read a little bit about what the first axial age was. Would you want to say a little bit about that and what you mean by the second axial age?
The last year or so, I was kind of looking for, there's something missing, and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
And it dawned on me that I had read something about this years ago. This German-Swiss psychiatrist, I think in 1938 or so, doesn't matter, but around then, wrote a book in which he talked about the first axial age, axial meaning the Earth turning.
yeah,
And when he looked at the period between 800 BCE and 200 BCE, those 600 years, he noticed something very interesting. In China, Confucianism arose. In India, Buddhism and Hinduism arose. In
yeah,
Iran or Persia, Zoroastrianism arose. In Israel, the Hebrew prophets. In Greece, Greek philosophy. These were men.
yeah,
They did not know each other, clearly. In those days, you couldn't hop on a plane. But it arose at roughly the same time and turned the world.
yeah,
They spoke about the transcendent. They spoke about it was religious, it was spiritual. This was a major injection of that into the consciousness of the world, and it still affects us to this day.
yes,
Then, I don't know, 20, 30 years ago, another guy whose name I forget at the moment, wrote a book in which he talked about, or an article in which he talked about a second axial age. And I was fascinated by that. I didn't read the book. The notion of a second axial age stuck in my head.
yes.
And then about 2 months ago, I thought, no, that's it. That's what I want to start writing about.
Oh,
And so,
fantastic.
thank you. So the question is, what is a second axial age?
Yeah.
And well, actually, no, I hadn't planned. Let me do it the other way. Let me ask you, assuming, well, more than assuming, that we are in a second axial
Oh,
age,
yes. Yeah.
what are some of the qualities of that?
Radical evolutionary creation, thinking beyond the current consciousness limitations, creating new, new ideas, new innovations, new possibilities, new ways of being together, um, collaborative genius, that we come together in new ways, unification in many, many ways, nation to nation and people to people, and a celebration of uniqueness. For me, it sources in the quest to create the next breakthrough that will liberate us all and elevate us all. It's kind of like that. And I see that, I look for that. I look for what you would call these axial writers, creators, artists, thinkers, visionaries, whatever. I look for them in the world to see them there. And I think as well, what you're part of doing as well is creating this new story that we talked about just before we started. There's a new story emerging of us. So as normal human beings, the construct of being a human being is very defined. We have this much of our brain, we have this amount of our ability to heal ourselves, we have XXX. That's all being blown apart now by people in all kinds of means. So one of them that pops to mind, I don't know if you followed Veda Austin. Do you know Veda Austin?
No.
She's working with the sentient intelligence of water.
Mm.
It's mind-blowing what she's doing. She's written a book called Water in capital letters. Like she's in love with the sentient intelligence of water. And she gets it to communicate with her by asking questions or telepathically talking. And then she gets a petri dish, she freezes it, and the water forms a picture that answers her question. Oh, mind-boggling stuff. I mean,
Whoa.
mind-boggling breakthrough stuff. So what, and that's not, when you realize you look at someone like that who's in love with water and exploring its intelligence, opens up the concept of everything, not just water, animals and mycelium networks and forests and soil and earth and stars and us and cells and all of it. They're radically evolutionary creations is my term for it, I guess.
So Larry, it's amazing. I know that you just heard the term second axial age. Well, when we began our email about doing this podcast.
Yeah,
And notice that I asked you the question and you just
know what
spewed
it
it
is.
out.
Yeah.
Know what it is.
I'll
Yeah.
bet you'll find that in a lot of people.
Well, I'm just beginning that because I've been struggling with what is it for me,
Yeah,
and but now starting to take it out to people. So one of the things you said earlier was exploring the next unknown,
yeah,
and one of the attributes is in the second axial age is we.
yes,
That I has gone as far as it can go.
yeah,
It's actually like a snake starting to eat its own tail. It's becoming self-absorbed. So we need a healthy I within a healthy, effective, and efficient we, because most of the problems in the world today are we problems. And we've
yes, they
not
were. Yeah,
developed our we to the same extent as we've developed our I.
yeah. Do
But
you,
it's not a we that comes from I, it's a we that comes from source, the divine.
yes, it does.
And what I've been doing is using capital W, capital E
Yeah,
to
I agree.
indicate that new notion of we.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
that's
One of the things I've found in myself, I see it in my husband, I see it in a few others that I work with, a kind of a lack of interest in identity. Like a loosening of the fabric of self.
yeah.
It's one of the stages. I think you get better in yourself, you write yourself, you elevate yourself, and then you kind of stop paying any attention to self anymore, and you're more interested in what are we becoming? What are we as a world going to do with these amazing moments that we're in? All of that. I totally am behind you for all that. Yeah,
One of the things I've been looking at is what's the essence of the book, and it's we are conscious and aware
yeah.
of being and becoming,
Yes,
both.
absolutely.
So,
Yeah,
and part of the stuff too in the second axial age is a lot of cleaning up. For example, the belief, the misbelief that when we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, we were kicked out of paradise, and that we can never go back.
not true.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm with you.
Not true.
Yeah,
Also, about in terms of cleaning up forgiveness, that
yeah.
we become forgiveness machines. And one of the lines I heard, I'm not quoting it exactly, but that we forgive those who don't even apologize to us, that we
Mm,
still forgive them.
yeah,
And to back to your point, so what's unleashed here is the collective we as part of this new story. And
Yes.
because we're so new into second axial age, I still feel I'm trying to wrap my arms around it. But as a friend of mine said, but that's of course natural. If
Yeah.
we're starting into a new era, you won't know everything that's going on. And I don't, do you know
Yeah.
what a liminal period is?
Yes. Yeah.
For those of you who don't, imagine a doorway in your home. And last night, some construction guys in secret and quiet came in and expanded the width of the doorway so that when you're in the doorway, you're neither in the previous room nor in the new room. You're in
Yeah.
what's called liminal. So we're in a sense in a liminal room. We think that the new, having now then stepped into the second axial age, we think it's going to
Yeah.
be more like what it was.
Yeah.
Yes, it will, and no, it won't.
Yeah.
So that's
Very
the
good.
second axial age, and I love the process here. I love the inquiry that we are doing to
Yeah.
discover what this is.
Do you know, just a suggestion for you, but it just has popped up to me as you're talking. You should do a podcast of second axial age creators.
Wow.
Like, there's probably whole bunches of them you could even think of, people who would talk about how they're reshaping the world as we know it.
What a fascinating
That would be a
idea.
really good podcast.
Phew. Phew.
I'll follow it and listen.
I'm not making a promise, but I hear you.
Yeah, good. Well, it's just an idea, so there you go. Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I find podcasts quite effective actually to get communication across to people
Hmm.
and get them to understand new concepts and stuff. So yeah, I like it as a medium. Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, and the book, of course, too. So how would people connect with you, Martin?
Well, they can connect through going through projectheavenonearth.com.
Oh, good.
And there's a free 7-day course there. There's also my email. You can send it to me
Great.
through that. I just a little plug again. You can go on Amazon all around
Yeah.
the world and order Project Heaven on Earth. Uh,
And I
let
know
me,
you're on Facebook and I think you're on LinkedIn too, aren't you?
yep.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot there. I'm really, it's interesting. I'm very much, I want to read something to you here. Whoops, if I can find that.
Yeah.
Hold on. There is a, of course I can't find. All right, next time we'll. At the end of the book is a vow that about heaven on earth that, oops, give me 1 second to find this.
Sure. Go for it.
Here it is.
While you're
It's
looking
called,
up,
no, I got it.
oh, you got it. Okay, good.
Yeah. It's called the Heaven on Earth Pledge. We, the people of the earth, say with authority that we are committed to having the world work. We, the people of the earth, commit to creating sustainable global peace. We, the people of the earth, commit to ensuring that our entire family is fed, is literate, and has access to opportunities for self-reliance, contribution, and service.
Nice.
We, the people of the earth, commit to supporting and nurturing the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and creative well-being of all. We, the people of the earth, commit to making our planetary home safe, healthy, empowering, and enlivening for everyone. We, the people of the earth, commit to being responsible and accountable to each other and for each other. We, the people of the earth, commit to honoring and valuing our planet's living biosphere and all life. We, the people of the earth, with the grace of God, are committed to having heaven on earth.
Fantastic. That's beautiful. Do you know that I rebranded this podcast called The Future Good, Bad, or Absolutely Fabulous? And and I think that what you and I are up to, and many, many others around the world, are up to making it absolutely fabulous, heaven on earth. You know, it's exciting.
Yes,
Thank you, thank you for this. It's been wonderful. I really
my
loved it.
pleasure. Thank you. I've learned from you. Thank you.
Same here. Yeah, brilliant. Great to reconnect again. And thanks everybody for listening. Till the next time, lots of love.